Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about short barrel AR-10s. Okay, so specifically we're talking about 14.5 and 12.5. Do they make any sense? So to answer that question, I think the first question that we need to answer is, what do we want out of an AR-10? Okay, so to kind of put things in perspective, your 9mm pistol has about 350 foot-pounds of energy. Your AR-15 with a 16-inch barrel has about 1,100 foot-pounds of energy. Your AK-47 and 300 blackout have about 1,500 foot-pounds of energy. Okay, so the reason why we're looking at energy is because we don't care. You know, that takes into account the bullet weight. So we're looking at the net result. Okay, you know, bullet weight plus velocity. You know, we're squaring the velocity, multiplying it by the bullet weight, dividing it by conversion factor, and we get energy, and that allows us to compare lots of different things of different bullet weights going at different speeds. Okay, so the AK-47 and 300 blackout, right? They have about 1,500 foot-pounds of energy. So if I'm going to go to a heavier AR-10, okay, it has to be significantly more than that. Okay, so you know, I don't want to have an AR-10 that's giving me like 16 or 1,700 foot-pounds of energy, because you know what, you know, it's not worth carrying a heavier gun, right, to get that little additional benefit. You know, if that's going to be the case, you just take your 300 blackout and you just shoot things twice, okay? Because with both the AK and the 300, the bullets are shorter, they're lighter, so you can carry twice as much ammunition, okay? So if we're carrying an AR-10, right, with these large cartridges, we need to get something for that, okay? So the way I have classified it is I've set 1,800 as the absolute floor, okay? So anything below 1,800 foot-pounds on an AR-10 is no good, okay? That's not going to be good. So I actually wrote this down here. So anything below 1,800, that's the red zone, okay? That's no good, okay? If we go from 1,800 to 2,000 foot-pounds, that's kind of like the yellow zone. That's where, like, yeah, there's some benefit there. It's not great, but yeah, you know, I can justify that, okay? Above 2,000 foot-pounds, okay, that puts us in the green zone, okay? So that's ideal. That's what I want to get out of a heavier AR-10. The amount of power that I want to get out of it for barrier penetration, right, is going to be above 2,000 foot-pounds, okay? So I have here a 20-inch AR-10. I've done lots of videos on this over the past year. I'll include a playlist in the comments and description so you can see the videos. So I've been using this 20-inch to run the bullets through a chronograph, and I also have a 16-inch AK Vepr, right, that also shoots 308. So I've been running those bullets through the chronograph, and I can see what the drop is from 20 inches going down to 16 inches, and that can give us an idea of where we're going to be if we go from like 16 inches to a 14.5 or 12.5. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you guys is, and I'll give you guys kind of the answer, and then I'll go back and I'll explain how I got to that answer. What's going to happen is, as we go to a shorter barrel, what that's going to do is it's going to limit the amount of ammunition that is available to us to give us the desirable results, right, of keeping us above 1,800 foot-pounds. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, so okay, I have here a bunch of different 308 ammunition that I've been testing out in the 20-inch and the 16-inch, and one of the key points that I have found, right, is if you're shooting in the shorter 16-inch barrel, okay, you will benefit by having ammunition with a gunpowder that burns at a faster rate, okay? So if you got a faster burning gunpowder, it's going to have more time it'll have the ability to burn in the shorter barrel. If you put a slow burning gunpowder in a short barrel, it doesn't have time to burn, and more of the burning happens outside the barrel. So I've got here some numbers for you guys to look at. And let's start off with this 147 grain Freedom munitions, right? When I ran that through the 20 inch, okay, that had an energy of 2415, okay? When I ran it through the 16 inch, that had an energy of 2336. So the drop from 20 inches to 16 inches here is roughly somewhere in the area of 100 foot-pounds, okay? But when I went with the American Sniper, right, the American Sniper in the 20 inch, that had an energy of 2361, okay? But when I put that in the 16 inch, that energy dropped to 1975, okay? So that basically got into the yellow zone just by going to to that shorter 16 inch barrel, okay? Now here's the thing to consider here is that this ammunition, right, when I went from 20 inch to 16 inch, the energy dropped by about 380 foot-pounds, right, versus the other one up here, which only, the Freedom munitions only dropped by about 100 foot-pounds from the 620 inch to the 16 inch. So what would be the difference? Right? It's not the bullet weights, because the bullet weights are pretty close. You got one that's 147 grains, the other one's 149 grains, so it's not the bullet weights. It's the gunpowder, okay? The Freedom munitions has a faster burning gunpowder, okay? And the American Sniper has a slower burning gunpowder. So when I put that in the shorter barrel, a smaller percentage of that had a chance to burn. So I got this huge drop in energy from 2361 down to 1975. And then I tried Tula, right? When I put Tula 308, 150 grains, in the 20 inch, all right, that already is starting off at 1933, okay? And then when I went to so it's already in the yellow zone, right? In the 20 inch barrel, okay? Because this is a very slow burning gunpowder, and plus they probably don't put as much into it because it's budget, it's really budget. But then when I went to the 16 inch, right, and I put the Tula in there, the energy dropped to 1714, okay? So right now it's below 1800. It's like in the red zone, absolutely no go. There's no point in carrying a heavier AR-10, right? That's going to that's going to give you an energy that's just maybe about 200 foot-pounds more than your AK-47 or your 300 Blackout. Okay, so this is a way to look at this. Okay, so what's happening here when we go from when we're up in the 20 inch barrel, we've got more options, right? There's a better chance that we can. There's a high probability that any 308 ammunition that we throw in there is going to be in that green zone, and there's some a small number of it is going to be in this yellow zone, right, where this Tula is over here in 1933. Now it's not, you can't just look at this and say, hey, this is cheap ass imported Russian ammunition, because over the years lots of bolt action hunters have been asking for lighter recoiling 308 ammunition, and the industry has responded by just making less powerful 308 ammunition. And in the bolt action rifle, where it doesn't have to cycle itself, that's not an issue, right? They get this low power ammunition that feels good to them. They really don't understand that, hey, there's less power going down range, right? So there's going to be lots of 308 ammunition out there that's really intended for hunters. That's going to be like, medium to low power. Okay, so if we look at this over here now, going back to this. So with the Freedom munitions, we started off at 2415, right? The 147 grains, 2415. If we go down to a 16, we're at 2336. So we're well in the green zone. Okay. Now, if we were to go down to like a 14.5, okay, that would probably drop from 2336 to probably around 2200-ish, right? So that's in the green zone. So no problem taking this Freedom munitions to a 14.5, okay? Now what happens if we go to a 12.5? If we go to a 12.5, I'm going to guess that it's going to drop. It's going to go down to about 2,000 foot-pounds or just below 2,000 foot-pounds. And that's going to put it in the yellow zone, which is still acceptable. But you know, I mean, that's how I think we need to look at this. Now, if I were to use the American Sniper, right, where I'm starting off with a 20-inch with 2361, right, and I go to a 16-inch and I'm already in the yellow zone at 1975. If I put this in the 14.5, I mean, that's probably going to put me in the red zone. It's probably going to drop me well below 1,800 foot-pounds. And there's absolutely no reason to be carrying a gun that heavy to get basically the power of an AK-47 or 300 Blackout. Okay. Now, there's this one ammunition I have up here, in red, right, which is the hottest one that I have found. That's the 150 grain Freedom munition. In my 20-inch, it gets 2671. Okay, in my 20-inch AR-10. Okay, I didn't even try it in the 16-inch because that's an AK gun. It doesn't have an adjustable gas valve, and since I can't, basically they're not importing Russian guns anymore. I can't get parts for it. I don't want to run stuff that hot through it because if I break it, I can't get replacement parts, right? So that's why I didn't even try it in my 16-inch. But I can tell you, given that this is starting off at 2671, all right, I would say that if I put that in the 16-inch, it would probably get at least 2,500 foot-pounds. Okay, I could easily put that in the 14.5, and it would probably be around, 2,300 foot-pounds. If I put that in a 12.5, this 150 grain free ammunition would probably be around 2,100 foot-pounds, or just above 2,000. And that would, so I can get into this green zone above 2,000 foot-pounds with a 12.5 if I use this ammunition right here, this 150 grain Freedom munition. It would work. So the point that I'm trying to bring out here is that that as we go to a shorter barrel, that's going to limit our options, right? Because like I said, with a 20-inch, I could throw anything in there, and it's probably going to be good enough. It's going to keep me above 2,000 foot-pounds, regardless what it is. Okay, as I start going to shorter barrels, I actually need to run them through a chronograph and see what I'm getting and make sure that I'm staying above that 2,000 or that at least stay above that 1,800 foot-pounds of energy. Okay, so the way I see it is with the longer barrel, you've got more options as far as ammunition to give you acceptable results downrange. When you go to the shorter barrels, now you got to be more selective. Now, the Freedom munitions, this stuff over here, okay, this is budget stuff. I get this stuff for like $17 to $18 a box. So right now I can get this stuff. I like to buy it on the holidays because I get it with the free shipping. You gotta get like 400 rounds. I usually stock up 400 rounds at a time. But the point is that down the road, maybe it's not available, okay? Or maybe they cut back on the powder or change their powder or how to, So the point is, like right now I have an option where I can get a 14.5 or 12.5, and I have an ammunition that will run good in it, right, and keep me where I want to be as far as power. But down the road, this may not be available, so it's cutting down options for me. Okay, now as far as AR-10, any AR-10 that you get must have an adjustable gas valve with many positions. Okay, 4 or 5 positions is not enough. This Palmetto PA-10 Gen 3 has an adjustable gas block over here. It has 3 slots per turn for a total of 17 gas positions. Okay, and the reason for that, the reason why you need that amount of flexibility is because you can see right here, right, just with the 20-inch, right, depending on the ammunition I run in it, right, if I run the 150 grams Freedom munition, my energy is at 2671, right, but then if I go down to Tula, right, 150 grain Tula, and both the same bullet weights, That's at 1933. So there is a difference here of almost 700 foot-pounds in the same barrel, okay, on the same gun. 700 foot-pounds is basically what a 44 Magnum is, okay? So depending on what ammunition I have here, you know, I can have a difference of energy of that of a 44 Magnum, or of about 700 foot-pounds that I have tested, and there might be even, you know, you might even be able to get a bigger variation depending on, you know, if you test more ammunition. So the point is that any AR-10 that you get, or any gas gun that shoots 308s, you want it to have a highly adjustable gas block. And that doesn't mean 3 or 4 or 5 positions. You need it to have like 17 or more, okay? Because of this huge variation. Most AR-10s out there, right? If you look at the reviews of different AR-10s, the ones that don't have an adjustable gas block, you always have people complaining about it's not cycling this ammo, or it's not cycling that ammo, or, you know. So the manufacturers have a choice, right? They can either they can gas it so it'll run anything, in which case the gun's going to have a tremendous amount of recoil, and it's going to beat itself up, right? The gun's going to beat itself up. You got, let's say, like the Ruger S-FAR that I think has either 3 or 4. I think they started off with 3 gas positions, and they changed the valve now that it has 4 gas positions. And there's videos all over the internet of people complaining that it's not cycling this ammunition or that ammunition. And the problem, and the reason for that, is because 308 ammunition, it's not a gun problem, it's an ammunition problem. 308 ammunition has comes in huge variances, okay? So you need something that is highly adjustable so that it will run anything that's 308. I mean, you can get a $30,000 Knights Armament M110, okay? That's probably not, that's not going to be a good gun for me, right? Because that gun is tuned to run a certain type of ammunition, right? And if I just throw Tula in it, right, it's probably not going to run it. So that's not a good gun, I think, for most people out there in the civilian market. That in most cases are just going to buy whatever ammunition is on sale, right? Whatever they get a good price on, whatever comes with free shipping. Okay, so the answer to this is not getting a more expensive gun. It is getting a gun that has a highly adjustable gas system. Okay, and as we go to shorter guns, right, shorter AR-10s, we got to understand that if we want to stay above 1,800 foot-pounds, we have to be you know, as we get to a shorter barrel, we need to be more selective with the ammunition. We're looking for ammunition that has a faster burn rate, and the only way you're going to know it is unless somebody tells you in the video like this. You have to have a chronograph. You got to get some, sample it out, you know, and see what kind of velocity you're getting, and do an energy calculation, and that's the only way that you're going to know, right? Unless somebody like me gives you the information. Now, I've got a 20-inch AR-10 here. Based on the testing that I've done here with my 16-inch Vepr, AK Vepr 308, I've already decided that I'm getting a 16-inch upper, right? I'm going to get it probably sometime around Black Friday. I'm going to get a 16-inch upper. I'm getting it from Palmetto, and it's important for you guys to know that AR-10s are not standardized, right? Unlike AR-15s, you can't just mix and match uppers and lowers from different companies, okay? It's not. You have to go back to the same company and get an upper that will fit that lower. Otherwise, they just won't fit. The two pieces will not go together, or you have to heavily modify it, right? And you're still going to have problems, okay? And in fact, even with like Palmetto says that their Gen 3 will work their Gen 2 and will work on their Gen 1 lowers. So even from generation to generation, from within the same company, you got to make sure that they're compatible. In fact, this is the PA-10 Gen 3. Palmetto also has a Saber line AR-10, right? That upper is not going to fit on here, okay? So you have to make sure that the upper will fit on the lower. So the great thing about Palmetto is I can just go to their website and order the 16-inch upper and just slap it on there, and it's ready to go, and I know it's going to work. And it has that highly adjustable gas system. It makes no sense for me to to go and to try anything else, to go to any other company. Okay. Now, if when I looked on their website, they don't have a 14.5, they don't have a 12.5 upper. Um, if that's the only way I would buy it, if they were to offer it. Okay, it makes sense to stay within the same company, because if you don't like it, there's no loss there. You can at least you can use the bolt, right? The bolt from your 16 will also work in your 20-inch. You're not committed to also buying a lower, right? You're just buying the upper. So it makes a lot more sense for me to get a 16-inch upper to try on here to see how I like it, instead of going to some other company where now I got to get the upper and I got to get the lower because the two aren't going to match up. Okay, so now I don't work for Palmetto. I don't get any kickbacks. I don't do affiliate links. I don't do any. I mean, I just use it because it's good. I'm a gun instructor. Okay, so what I try to do is I try to give my customers and everybody out there the best advice based on the high volume of shooting that I do, because it's in my interest to basically promote the gun community overall. I want to bring more and more people into the gun hobby. Okay, so I don't do these videos because I'm trying to promote Palmetto, but rather I'm trying to get the best, easiest, cheapest, most budget guns that work into the hands of as many people as possible in order for the gun community to keep growing. Okay, so that's my motivation for doing all these videos. So I'm not fanboying Palmetto for any other reason other than they've got good budget stuff that just works. Okay, so thanks for watching. Drop some comments below. I'll talk to you all soon. Hey everyone, I want to add that since I did this video a few days ago, I did manage to speak to somebody that has a 12.5 inch AR-10, right? So AR-10 with a 12.5 inch barrel. And they confirmed for me after running rounds through the chronograph that with some rounds, very few rounds, but some 308 ammunition, they're actually able to get in that area of 2,000 foot-pounds. Some of them will be like 1950s, some of them will be like 2050, but they can definitely get in that area. So in my opinion, the 12.5 in a 308 can be a very practical rifle if you're moving and you want some serious firepower for barrier penetration.